So it's the electronics, okay? All electronics can potentially be a weapon if needed. Let me explain. Your electronics are constantly emitting frequency, okay? And that frequency is absorbed by towers and ultimately satellites. So the data and information can be interpreted. And it kind of just like a flow of electricity, it flows into the towers, into the satellites, out of the satellites, back to the towers, and moves forward. But at any point in time, that frequency can be reverted back to the electronic device, causing instant incineration of electronic devices. Now, when electronic devices burn, they emit a poisonous gas, and it can cause the victim to be instantly blinded and deafened, plus the inhalation of that toxic gas. Okay, this is why we have victims literally just sitting in their cars. It's human nature that if your car was to catch on fire from an outside source, people are gonna try to get out of the car, right? We're bound to see some victims with doors open, victims outside of these vehicles, but that's not what is happening. We're finding whole families literally just sitting within their cars, passed away, because they didn't have time. All of the electronic components of their vehicles, their phones, things like this, were more than likely incinerated or exploded at the same time. The same thing with the homes. Conveniently, we have children off of school. Mom and dad is not home. What are children gonna do? They're gonna be on their game stations, on their phones, headphones. And when those electronic devices are hit, those victims do not even have time to respond, to run. They are pretty much passing away in place. Okay, so this is why your homes are being incinerated, your cars are being incinerated, but the natural things around your trees, your bushes, your grass are simply being singed by heat. These are not wildfires. These are microwave attacks through the electronic devices, which were developed to potentially be a weapon if needed. So if you guys can understand, within your homes, it would be any cameras, game consoles, phones, smart meters, vehicles parked in garages, okay? And that's what they're hiding from the public. That's why they're putting up the black fence, because when a fire is investigated, officials can tell where the fires begin because of the hot spots within the rubble. And what these investigators will find is that every place that there was an electronic device is that hot spot, because the devices were used as a weapon. The electronic components within the vehicles were used as a weapon, and they don't want the public to know that all of your devices can be weapons, because you folks can protect yourself by knowing this. You can get the smart devices out of your homes, your Alexas, your Wi-Fi cameras. You can keep your phones in Faraday cages. They don't want the general public knowing this, okay? Now, you folks have to understand, this goes well above the U.S. Gov, all right? This is your technocrats at the very top and your elitist bankers that own the information infrastructure, okay? They own the towers, they own the satellites. So this is well above Oprah and Biden and Bill Gates, you guys. This is the people in the shadows that own this entire information infrastructure, okay? This also explains why your billionaires' houses were not touched, because it only takes one phone call from someone in the know to tell these folks to make sure that all of their devices were disconnected, okay? or removed from the home or placed in a Faraday cage. So if you folks can understand, as the data flows into a tower, into a satellite, and that signal is reverted back to be used as a weapon, it flows from the satellite to the tower, and then it's going to hit all of the devices that are connected to that tower at once. It seems as though things that are blue and white are not being harmed, okay, and that's because color is frequency. A similar frequency cannot be harmed by itself, so blue must be a similar frequency that's being reverted, emoted back. And white is actually not a color. The true scientific definition of white is refraction of all frequency, whereas black, which is also not a color, is absorption of all frequency. That's your scientific definition of those two colors, which I'm guessing is why white offers some protection and blue offers some protection. So it's the electronic components and the electronic devices. They're being used as a weapon. They do not want the general population to know that that is possible, because it would be very easy for you folks to protect yourself from those types of attacks if you understood that. So I'm going to ask you guys to not let this message be in vain, and to try and get it to people in Lahaina on Ground Zero, for you all to start doing your own investigation, considering what I just said. And just as when I came to you folks and I explained to you how the jab is connected with an elitist banking agenda connected to digital currency 3 years ago, and the folks that heard me and started to investigate themselves found out that I was true, I am going to encourage you to do the same thing with this message.